So here I have Spanish moss, sometimes called Spanish lichen, although it's not a moss or a lichen. It's actually an epiphyte. In fact, it's much like the air plants that you see in many different kinds of stores and so forth. In fact, it's the same genus, Tillandsia, that many of the ones that are commercially available air plants are. But again, they call it Spanish moss, beards, Spanish beards. Supposedly, one of the origin stories that to do with this thing came from the meanest man who ever lived. This is his beard, and it's predominantly a southern thing. Prefers to use things like live oaks and bald cypress over anything else because those things leach a lot of minerals, which is how this plant lives. Again, it's an air plant, so it doesn't actually live off the plant itself. It actually collects minerals, nutrients, and moisture from the air around it. It's not usually harmful for a tree, although if there's so much of it there, it can sometimes block some of the sunlight that can get to a place. But a very neat type of plant. Spanish moss has been used as padding. It's been used in what they call swamp coolers, where you put it in there and you'll be able to blow smoke, since it holds water so well, blow cooler air and evaporation over it. Makes things appear a lot cooler. Um, as I mentioned, air plants are epiphytes, and so epiphytes actually don't live on the plant itself. They attach to it. You can see here I broke it off, but it was attached to this, and it doesn't so much kill the tree or root into it. It gets most of its nutrients and moisture from the air around it, and the whatever, the different kinds of water and so forth, and dampness that's around there. Although they will a lot of times accumulate on certain trees, as I mentioned before, because of the amount of leaching of minerals and stuff that those particular trees produce. But they can live on a lot of different trees. They're considered a southern plant. They've been introduced in some places like Hawaii and in other places as well. But technically are mostly in the deep south, down into the Bermudas, down to Caribbean, Central America, and so forth. They get as far north as Virginia, the southeast, the very southern portion of Virginia. But historically, if even supposedly were found even in Maryland, although that's no longer the case. So a neat plant, Spanish moss, neither a moss or anything like that, but an air plant, a Tillandsia usinoides, a very, very neat symbol of the South and Gothic and so forth. I mean, this is something that you see the beard trees in the South, and you always know how closely associated with Southern culture. Spanish moss.